What if the story of humanity began in Africa? But the world forgot to tell you the whole story? Long before Egypt's pyramids, Rome's legions, or Europe's great cities, Africa was already shaping the human story. Hundreds of thousands of years ago, our species began emerging in Africa. Homo sapiens, modern humans. They faced predators, droughts, changing climates, and enormous distances, but they adapted. Eventually, some groups began leaving Africa, beginning migrations that would spread humans across much of the planet. But early Africans were doing more than surviving. They were creating, communicating, and expressing ideas. At Blombos Cave, archaeologists found engraved ochre, dating back more than 70,000 years. These markings suggest that symbolic thought existed long before writing and the world's first cities. And then Africa's environment began changing. The Sahara was not always the desert we know today. For thousands of years, parts of the Sahara were greener, wetter, and filled with wildlife and human communities. But as the climate became drier, many communities had to move toward more reliable sources of water. One of those places was the Nile Valley, where settled communities would eventually transform human history. Farming allowed people to produce food more reliably, encouraging permanent settlements and increasingly complex societies. Villages grew, leaders emerged, trade expanded, and eventually, powerful states began taking shape. Along the Nile, ancient Egypt became one of humanity's most famous civilizations. Egyptians developed writing, allowing rulers, priests, merchants, and scribes to record information across generations. Then came monumental engineering, on a scale that still amazes the modern world. The Great Pyramid became a monument to the organization, engineering, and labor of ancient Egyptian society. But to understand Africa's ancient world, we must look beyond Egypt, toward the powerful Kingdom of Kush. In what is now Sudan, Kush became a wealthy kingdom, built around agriculture, trade, resources, and the Nile. Kush traded with Egypt, fought Egypt, influenced Egypt, and eventually, Kushite rulers conquered Egypt. The Kushite rulers formed Egypt's 25th dynasty, remembered today as the era of the Black Pharaohs. Among them was Taharka, a powerful ruler. His influence stretched across Egypt and Kush. But Kush was more than a dynasty. It developed its own cities, culture, religion, art, and writing. At Meroë, hundreds of pyramids still stand as reminders of a civilization that flourished south of Egypt. Across Africa, another transformation was taking place: the growing importance of ironworking. Iron tools could strengthen agriculture, while iron weapons could transform warfare and political power. In West Africa, the Nok culture created remarkable terracotta sculptures with astonishingly detailed human features. And this is the key to understanding Africa. It was never one civilization, but many civilizations developing across a vast continent. Across deserts, rivers, forests, and grasslands, people exchanged goods, ideas, technologies, and culture. Then Rome expanded into Egypt, bringing the powerful Roman Empire closer to Kush.
But Kush was not prepared to simply surrender. Its queen, Amanirenas, led resistance against Rome.
Kushite forces attacked Roman-controlled territory, showing that Rome had encountered a serious opponent.
Rome retaliated, pushing deep into Nubian territory and threatening Kush's heartland.
But ancient wars were not always decided by total victory. Sometimes, survival depended on negotiation. Kush and Rome eventually reached an agreement, allowing the kingdom to survive beyond the conflict. From the first humans to powerful kingdoms, African societies repeatedly adapted to change and built new futures. Africa was not a footnote to world history. It was one of the places where world history began. And because humanity's deepest roots lead back here, African history is ultimately part of everyone's story. The lesson is simple. Civilizations rise, change, disappear, and leave behind clues for us to discover. So how much of Africa's story do we still have left to uncover? If you want to uncover the history they never taught you, subscribe to History Hub. The journey has only begun.